Hello, welcome back to PetrolBlog's rubbish YouTube channel. Hope you're well. It's been a while. I haven't looked back to discover when the last video was uploaded, but I'm guessing it was last year. So we're all about 6 months older now, and probably less wiser. I'm focusing on this, which won't take a genius to work out, is a road. And the significance of that is, beautiful view by the way, just standing around, but the significance of the fact that I'm stood on a road is lying there, because amazingly the Peugeot 406 Coupé is on the road. Actually, technically no, it's not on the road right now, it's off the road, but it got here on that road. Doesn't look good. I mean, the reason it's parked in this kind of dell here is to protect me from the wind, so you don't get lots of annoying wind noise to go with the annoying narration. It's not really narration anyway, it's just loads of waffle. Look, she's now got an MOT. Yeah, I still can't believe it. Probably why it's been taking me so long to pluck up the courage to whip out my gimbal again. But here she is, and I apologise for calling her she. We have formed a kind of an emotional, or I've formed an emotional attachment to the car. I don't think it's a mutual thing, but I've definitely bonded with this car. It's been a fractious relationship over the last 3 years, and it is 3 years, and that pains me to admit that, but it's taken 3 years to get this on the road. I won't bore you with the excuses, but it has taken 3 years to get to this point. And before I go any further, I just want to say two things. Firstly, I'm not saying this car's finished. I would say she's probably average. And the other thing is, there's still a lot of work to do. So you'll see things on this car that aren't done. I'm going to sit down on this grassy bank here and just... I think remember the last time I sat down at this angle of the car, this position, I think it was on the very first, maybe even the second video, I sat in the barn up at the far end of my area, and I looked at that view and I said, isn't it beautiful? And it's even more beautiful now because A, she's clean. There's no longer a line of moss down this side of the car. And she's finished. You know, the tyres are looking good now. She's now got a full set of Falcon rubber on her to replace the tired old Michelins that are cracking all over the place. The exhaust was clean. It was better, but it's gone rusty again, so I'm going to have to replace that at some point. She's now got period plates. What car's that going by? It's a Passat Estate. Can you see the Passat Estate going by? I feel like a terrible YouTuber now because I'm out with my gimbal in public, which doesn't happen very often. I'm digressing again, and I'm saying again. But, yeah, so she's not done. And I don't know really what the end game was. I guess the end game would have been to get her back on the road, to get her MOT'd. So I can tick that box now. I can tick the box that says she's got an MOT. There we go, I said it again. Isn't she beautiful? Honestly, what a stunning looking car she is. Sorry, it's just she again. You haven't missed me, have you? It's terrible. I wish I was as good as Bald and Bankrupt. He is very good at doing these sort of videos. And also aspire to the motoring YouTube channels and know what they're doing. This was my first project car, and probably bit off more than I could chew. But equally, you know, there were bits where she just, sorry, I said she again, where she just wouldn't respond to me. You know, little things like rusted bolts, combination of no copper grease, and just stood outside on the fringes of Exmoor for 2.5 years. But even the oil filter, when that wouldn't come off, you think, really? Is this really happening right now? And there were times when I thought, well, two things. A, can I do it? Is it worth it? And B, well, they are the two things. A, is it worth it? B, can I do it? And I guess thanks to my son and Adam White, we pushed through together and we got her finished. And also the people who've written guides to this car, the people who have supplied parts to me, and Marius from Eastern Europe, brilliant. I mean, a lot of my parts came from Eastern Europe, and without those parts, this car would not be here today. We certainly wouldn't be in this position here today. It might still be on Dartmoor rather than Exmoor. Well, actually, it's on Dartmoor now, as you can see from this wonderful vista. It's a beautiful part of the world on a day like today. Anyway, I'm digressing again. And I am denied about coming back on the YouTube channel, I have to admit. It did cross my mind to close it down. But I figured that if I do nothing else on this channel, I have to close the circle. I have to close the loop on the 406 Coupe because, you know, we started the project together and we're going to finish the project together. We'll certainly finish, here we are, it's got an MOT project together. But there's still a lot to do. And I could point them out to you now. And I'm not that worried about those. I'm obviously worried about getting these done. So it might be that when I get this redone, I look at doing that at the same time. It kind of makes sense. And again, you can see scratches on the side there. You know, cosmetically, this car is tired. I mean, look at this. These don't come up. When I post pictures on Twitter and I say don't look too closely, this is what I mean. You know, it's tatty in places. And the wheels need refurbing. Yeah, so the rear bumper still needs doing. This is typical of me. I'm focusing on all the negatives of this car. You can see there. Again, you hardly notice it, and it's such a beautiful colour. And actually, satellite grey wouldn't have been my first choice, but it really pops in the sun. The metallic really comes out. Absolutely beautiful colour now. I wouldn't have any other colour now, funnily enough. I think. Apologies if this video is rubbish, or more rubbish than usual. I think this arch is just as bad, if not worse, than the other one. So that's something I'm going to have to sort out. That's a priority. That's on top of the list of things to do. You know, Adam White did an absolutely fantastic job with the bumper, the pheasant bumper, and you can see it's starting to crack already as a result of me manhandling it to getting it back on. So I'm going to fill that and refinish it. But you can imagine what that looked like. He's done an absolutely brilliant job, and he's done the colour match superbly well. Right, this is what I want to point out. Look, at the moment, this, which is very hard to source, is on with cable ties. Those holes are already there. I didn't put those in there, but they're on with cable ties until I can sort out a proper job because the fixings aren't there. So apologies, but look, I'm not that worried at the moment. And actually up here at the moment is on with cable ties while I sort out a more permanent fix. The rest of it's on. It's just that bit there. And you remember, it's got its own little scratches from the goats and a dent from the goat. And imagine that was a horn straight into the bonnet. So I've left my own mark on the car, or the goats had left their mark on the car. So yeah, so back in, where was I? Back in January, February probably, I finally summoned up the courage after finishing everything, getting the bumper back on, to take it for an MOT. And 15-mile drive, and it was probably the most nerve-wracking drive of my life. I went for a pre-MOT check, and that was the first time it would be on the road for 6 years. So for me, that was significant. You can imagine why I was so nervous. And went for pre-MOT check, and that went really well. The MOT tester was very enthusiastic and complimentary about the work we've done. The only thing he picked up on was a brake pipe running on the base of the car, which was rusting. And without any lifting equipment, I wouldn't have seen it. A bit disappointing, that's one thing we missed. But apart from that, he said it would go straight through. When it came to the MOT, which for reasons I come back to in a second, it failed on the washer jets. Of all the things, after 6.5 years, it failed on washer jets. But, you know, I look at it one of two ways. A, it's disappointing. B, if you'd have said to me 3 years ago that you'll go for an MOT and all it will need is washer jets, I'd have taken that. You know, you've worked hard on this and it's been worthwhile, so I'll take that. And the reason, it was in there for 2 months, by the way, in the garage, because as soon as I'd taken it in, half their staff went off with COVID, and they prioritised people that needed their cars. And I'd already said to them, this isn't a priority, do it when you can. Eventually it took 2 months. So it was sat in the garage for 2 months until April, until I finally got the good news. Can't believe it. I still can't believe it. It gives me butterflies when I drive it. Oh, by the way, great sticker there from the talented Russ Wallis. Check him out. Check him out, please. And it's beautiful. I mean, as I said before, the daughter of the man who owned it from new called it beautiful, christened it beautiful, and I totally get that, because it is a beautiful car. And it's also beautiful to drive. I won't start her up just yet, because you won't be able to hear me, which is probably a blessing. I'm waffling so much. I'm going to sort of wrap this up in a minute. But to drive, it's fantastic. I don't think the transmission's perfect. I think the transmission is on its last legs, which is a concern. But equally, it's an opportunity because I see that as a chance to convert it to manual. And that it was something that a couple of people have mentioned to me, that if you get an opportunity, you should manual swap it, which is something I'll do. I do need to change the transmission fluid. That might improve things, I don't know. But that's on the list of things to do. But we drove back, my eldest son and I, came back from the MOT station, 15 miles, and it was one of the best drives. So from the most nerve-wracking drive to one of the best drives. Didn't push it too hard, but the soundtrack from the 3-litre V6 is fantastic. The steering is actually much more precise than I thought it would be. It weights up nicely at speed, which is lovely. Handling is sort of more comfort than sort of cornering, but it's got that lovely French balance of comfort and handling, which is perfect for me. Yeah, I mean, it's just fabulous. I still can't believe it's working. We'll fire her up. So, yeah, it's telling me the bonnet's open, even though the bonnet is shut. Not sure what's going on there. One of the bonnet catches did fail before the MOT. I'm guessing there's something a bit awry there, but again, I can live with that. But I don't know if that noise probably will come across. Please excuse the rust on the exhaust. It's on the list. Listen to that. Wonderful. If you remember that, well, you remember I've told you already on this video that the bumper split in half because of the pheasant. Well, I'm denied about putting mesh back on in honour of the pheasant, but I went back with the plastic one because everyone said the same thing. But I've managed to source that little sticker from France, a little pheasant nod for the 406. It's too big for the actual outside, so I'm tempted to put it in the, if you can see it, there's a tray up there on the back shelf. I'm going to put that on the inside of the shelf, so it's there. I know it's there, and it's my little nod to the previous owner and the dearly departed pheasant. I'll turn her off. You know, as I say, the transmission I don't think is 100%, but everything else, touch wood, appears to be working. The windows, the aircon, the heated seats, everything appears to be behaving itself. One of the fog lights, again, this is kind of minor stuff, but one of the fog lights doesn't work. And it's not the bulb, because the bulb in that one works. And then you change it over to that one, it still doesn't work. And then finally it did work when I put them in. So there's clearly a connection problem there, which I will look into soon. But listen, I've waffled on for 15 minutes. This might be the first of more videos. I've got a lot to talk about on the fleet, but it's whether I can get past the so what factor. Because my issue is there's so many good YouTube channels out there. People that are more knowledgeable than me, people with more technical skills than me, people who are better presenting than me. You kind of think, really, is it all worth it? But you guys are brilliant, and you guys who subscribe to me make it all worthwhile. So who knows? This might be the start of more. But I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back to say, we did it. That car is on the road. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.